Hello, my name is Dr. Caroline Walker and I'm an NHS psychiatrist and a doctor's wellbeing specialist, and I'm making a series of videos on the mental and emotional impact of COVID-19 on doctors in the UK at the moment. And I wanted to make a video today about trauma and the normal human response to trauma, because I'm seeing a lot of this in doctors and in fact in the wider general population at the moment. So trauma is a really, really common thing for human beings to experience, and essentially it's anything that threatens our safety or our integrity as a person. So at the moment with COVID-19, we're all feeling under a tremendous amount of threat directly to our lives from the virus, and more generally as a society at the moment. And when humans face trauma, we tend to have a very characteristic stress response, which is really, really quite normal. So in the first 4 to 6 weeks, we tend to see that we're a little bit more hyper aroused, so we're a bit more on edge, we're maybe a bit more jumpy, a bit more like our physiology isn't quite right, so we're maybe not sleeping as much, and we're maybe just a bit more alert to sort of dangers in general, and a bit hypervigilant. And we also get lots of intrusive imagery. That's really normal, and intrusive thoughts. So I'm hearing a lot of doctors sort of talking about having thoughts about, catching the illness and what that might look like for them, and getting images of them being admitted into hospital and being intubated in ITU, or perhaps even imagery of, further down the line of them dying, or their family being at their funeral. Really can get really quite distressing images like that, and they're actually really quite common when something like this is going on. We also get avoidance, so we tend to avoid things that are frightening us. So you might sort of initially kind of want to read as much as you possibly can about things, but then you might absolutely be like completely avoidant of it and aversive to seeing any news about it, or hearing any stories about it. We might just be avoiding more other things in your life, like your kind of day-to-day mundane tasks, or avoiding thinking about it. Actually, that's as well another type of avoidance we see. So it's really typical in these early days for human beings, including doctors, for us to be feeling, more alert, more aroused, more unsettled, a sense of sort of threat and anxiety and an edginess, disturbed sleep, maybe wanting to, drink a bit more, or behaviours like that. And that response typically, if you've been exposed to one trauma, kind of lasts sort of for a few weeks, so 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in that region. And most people will get through that time, and their symptoms will gradually resolve over that time, and they'll feel better. For a few of us, those symptoms might persist for a bit longer, and they may be a bit more severe, and it may be something that we then need to go and get some support with to help to deal with, because a more severe trauma reaction, something like post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, is a really, really treatable thing. So what I would say is, at the moment, if you're feeling like at all traumatized by what's going on, and you're getting intrusive thoughts and images, you're feeling more aroused generally, and you're maybe a bit avoidant of certain things, then it's probably really quite normal at this stage. So please just know that you're not alone in that, and we're all feeling that to some extent, and for most of us that will settle as time goes by. I mean, it's a bit different with something like a pandemic, because obviously it's not like a one-off trauma that happens on day one and then that kind of traumatizes you and then everything's kind of okay or getting better. This is like an ongoing and evolving situation. So it might be that some of us are being kind of traumatized now by seeing or hearing or reading or experiencing certain things, but it may be others of us are kind of face that kind of trauma and get that response later down the line. So it's a bit evolving, and the timeframes are a bit elastic, but it's worth bearing in mind that the normal response is to feel a bit agitated and a bit on edge at this kind of early phase. So what can we do to help ourselves when we're feeling like this? Well, the number one thing that we need to do is to stay connected to our loved ones and our normal life as much as we possibly can in these extraordinary circumstances. And obviously that's quite difficult at the moment because of the social distancing rules and the lockdown here in the UK. But it's really, really important that we still stay connected wherever we can. So that's to our members of our family within our household, but also maybe by phone or online with those loved ones in our wider network. It's really important when we're under threat, when we're feeling a bit traumatized, that we connect with our normal support network, just to kind of ground us in our normal life as much as possible during these really challenging times. The other thing that can be really helpful is to try an actual grounding technique. So something like 3 things, which is a technique you can use where you essentially you kind of ground yourself in the moment you're in right now. Because if you think about it, a traumatized brain or a threat-focused brain is kind of thinking about the threat that's coming at it. It's thinking about the future or problem or something that's just happened. It's feeling very unsafe and on edge, and we need to kind of bring the brain back in and remind it that it's okay in this moment, and remind us where we are right now. So 3 things works by naming 3 things that you can see, 3 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can feel, touch, and just going around your senses like that, naming 3 things can really bring your arousal level and your physiology right back down and really ground you in the moment, and hopefully bring you slightly out of that threat-focused, traumatized mode. So for example, I might say, okay, I can see my phone in front of me as I'm talking into this camera. I can see a cup of tea over to the right. I can see a pen on my desk. I might say I can hear silence. Wow. It's quite something. If I listen a bit closer though, I might hear a very faint heartbeat in my ear. So what it does, this technique, this naming 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, it really gets you in touch with your senses in the moment. So it's a great technique, and you can do it anywhere, anytime, and nobody needs to know that you're doing it. So yeah, I'd say the 2 key things I do at this stage, this early stage, and I'll talk about trauma again in another video as we go further through this crisis and as things evolve. But at this stage, I think connect with your loved ones and your normal social network as much as you possibly can at this time within safe boundaries. And ground yourself. So grounding into the moment, both feet flat on the floor. Where am I? Who am I? Okay, it's whatever, Thursday night, and I'm talking to my camera, and so just grounding into the moment can just bring that threat level down. I also want to just say, if you're really struggling, if you feel like you're more traumatized perhaps than everyone else you're seeing around you, and perhaps you're the imagery is so intense and you're so hyper aroused and you're so avoidant that you can't really function, that it's really getting in the way of your day-to-day life in some way, then please do know that there is help out there. I just want to signpost quickly a couple of resources for doctors at the moment. For those of you who perhaps are just getting the normal level of intensity of just a little bit more edgy and a little bit more not coping so well, and you just want a space to talk safely, then try the BMA wellbeing service. They can hook you up with some one-to-one talking space where you can just sort of talk about what's going on for you right now and have a safe space to vent. It's completely free and confidential for any doctor. You don't have to be a BMA member. And the second service for doctors in England is to self-refer to the practitioner health service. And I would recommend them for if you're feeling like maybe you've got a little bit more of a severe trauma reaction that's really starting to impact on your life and your functioning. Because they're a free and confidential service for any doctors in England with mental health issues or addiction issues. So, and as always, with all my videos, please, if I can support you in any way, if you would like signposting to a specific support for you at this time, please drop me an email at caroline@joyfuldoctor.com. If this video has been helpful to you, please like it, share it, comment. I really appreciate hearing from all of you at the moment about, you know, which bits of these videos are helping you and which bits aren't, because I really want to, you know, keep making these and making them as useful as possible for you going forward. So yeah, please know that we're all being traumatized at the moment on some level, and there's a lot of trauma around in the air, and it's going to kind of continue, I think, as this crisis evolves, as we see more distressing things unfolding before us and we hear about them on the news. So it's really normal that we would all be experiencing some sort of stress reaction to that at this point. That will settle for most of us, the vast majority of us. If you're struggling that little bit more, or it's persisting and it's getting in the way of your life, then please know that there is help out there, and please do get in touch. Thank you. Speak to you soon. Bye.